Have you ever said tomorrow so often that it stops sounding real to you? Have you ever watched other people build your dream while you stayed in bed? If you've been there, you need to hear this. The price is quiet regret that grows while you delay. Stay until the end, and you'll learn a small rule that keeps ambition alive. But what changed everything was 2 seed pouches on a kitchen table. In a small farming county, there lived a young man named Evan. Evan was 25, and his mouth ran faster than his hands ever did. He promised his friends that one day he would own the best fields in town. He talked about rows so full they would glow like sunlight trapped in wheat. In the mornings, trucks rumbled past his window while he lay there listening. He would tell himself he was resting, even when it was really hiding. His small rental house smelled like old coffee and dry soil brought in on boots. He kept saying he wanted respect, but what he really wanted was escape. He carried a vow that sounded noble, but it kept him stuck in place. He swore he would become somebody without having to feel uncomfortable first. That evening, his Uncle Ray visited and placed 2 seed pouches on the table. Evan's belief did not sound like laziness when he explained it out loud. He said timing mattered, and he said plans were more important than sweat. He told himself that rushing into hard work without confidence was foolish. His friends rewarded that belief because big talk is easy to clap for. One of them said Evan was built for more, and Evan ate that praise gladly. He walked past his own field like it was a problem he could postpone. The soil was dark and rich, yet the rows were empty and embarrassing. A faded, final notice sat in his pocket, folded until the corners turned soft. He touched it sometimes and promised himself he would fix everything soon. He did not notice how soon kept moving farther away each week. The first real pressure arrived in a plain envelope with his name on it. His rent was due by Friday, and the late fee was not a gentle number. Evan stared at the paper, then set it down like setting it down solved it. He told himself he would work tomorrow, because tomorrow felt painless. That afternoon, he went to town and watched other farmers sell early produce. He smiled at them like he was one of them, then went home empty again. At night, he stood at his field gate, hearing crickets and distant engines. He could almost see his future, but he could not make himself begin. He thought he had time, and that belief was the most expensive one. Then Uncle Ray came again, and Evan could not avoid his eyes anymore. Uncle Ray walked Evan's field slowly, letting the silence do the arguing. He knelt, pinched the soil, and watched it crumble through his fingers. Good ground was being wasted, and Evan felt that fact like heat in his face. The next day, the landlord's truck stopped outside and waited too long. Evan's stomach tightened as if his body understood the danger first. That evening, Evan sat alone at his kitchen table without turning on any lights. He held the 2 seed pouches, and their soft weight made him feel ashamed. He imagined them growing into something real, then pictured them dying untouched. His mother called from across town after hearing about the rent notice. "Mom, dreams don't pay this bill, son." Evan swallowed hard because he had no honest answer to give her. Uncle Ray returned before sunrise and did not offer comfort this time. "Uncle Ray, ambition lives only where you show up." He told Evan he would take the field back in 7 days unless Evan proved change. He offered a test that sounded small, but it demanded truth every morning. He said Evan must step into the field at dawn, pull weeds for 15 minutes, then plant and water one short row. He said Evan must cut one clean notch into a fence post each morning because wood does not lie above patterns. Evan agreed, even though agreeing made his pride feel bruised and childish. But the real pressure begins when the first excitement wears off. The next morning, Evan's body begged for the old deal of 5 more minutes. He stared at the ceiling, hearing his own excuses line up like practiced actors. He thought about the 7-day deadline, and fear finally pushed him upright. The air outside was cold enough to sting, and the grass was wet on his shoes. He walked into the field with a shovel and a cheap plastic bucket of water. His fingers cramped as he yanked weeds because roots never leave politely. When he planted the row, the work looked almost too small to matter. Still, he poured water until the soil turned dark and something in him relaxed. He carved the first notch into the fence post, and the sound felt like proof. A neighbor drove by slowly and laughed, and Evan kept working anyway. By the 3rd morning, Evan wanted fast results, because slow results scare dreamers. That was when setback arrived as help, with a grin and easy confidence. A man at the feed store promised a shortcut mix that would kill weeds overnight. Evan used it, and the weeds browned fast, but the planted row looked burned too. He stood there sick with guilt, realizing he had trusted the wrong kind of advice. He remembered Uncle Ray's rule, and he chose hands and time over clever tricks. Setback B hit 2 days later, and it came from inside Evan's own relief. He saw the row survive, decided he had earned a morning off, and stayed in bed. When he returned the next day, fresh weeds had spread like they were mocking him. He carved the next notch anyway, because the chain mattered more than his mood. Days turned into weeks, and Evan stopped treating mornings like an argument. He woke before the alarm because his body began to expect the pattern. He worked the same short row, then the next row, letting small wins stack quietly. His hands stayed sore, but his mind felt cleaner, like it had fewer lies to hold. The rent still hurt, but he stopped panicking when he looked at numbers. He sold a few early bundles at the roadside stand and paid part of what he owed. He slept deeper, not because life got easy, but because he stopped running from it. One afternoon, the same neighbor who laughed slowed down and watched in silence. "Neighbor, so you're really doing it now?" Evan did not give a speech, because speeches were his old hiding place. Evan learned something that would have saved him years if he had listened sooner. Ambition is a seed, and it survives only when daily effort keeps it alive. Laziness is a weed, and it grows without permission in any empty space. Because life doesn't shout, it teaches quietly. Months later, Evan still kept the 2 seed pouches, but they felt like a warning. So here is the question that matters today, before another tomorrow disappears. Which seed are you feeding, and which weeds are you allowing to spread?